The mix of fuels ahead of a new ignition or an active wildfire will, in part, determine whether the fire will continue to spread, how fast and how hot it will burn, and whether crown fire is even possible. This presentation will describe the classification of fuel types of the Canadian Forest Fire Behavior Prediction or FBP system. We will discuss the way they are used to describe fuels on the landscape, which ones require additional information or modifiers to highlight local conditions, the differences in expected fire spread, and some of the tools that can help you make the right selections. The Canadian Forest Fire Behavior Prediction or FBP system uses 18 fuel types to spread among 5 classes of vegetation and fuels. There are 2 open land fuel types, 7 conifer fuel types, 4 mixed conifer and hardwood fuel types, 2 deciduous fuel types, and 3 slash types. They are used in the FBP system in much the same way that the 53 fire behavior fuel models are used in the U.S. Fire Behavior Prediction System. However, there are significant differences along with the analogies. FBP fuel types are based on vegetative cover types, identified as key to the boreal landscape, while the U.S. FBPS fuel models are based on the surface fuels that carry fire spread. For example, grass, shrub, or litter. The FBP fuel types are a collection of unitless numbers that are inserted into the fire spread equation, while the U.S. FBPS fuel models are a collection of fuel loadings, fuel size definitions, and other flammability factors that can be measured and compared from field locations. Crown fire predictions are integrated into the FBP system, while the U.S. FBPS fuel models are only used to predict surface fire behavior. There are 7 conifer fuel types in the FBP system. C1 and C2, the spruce fuel types, are common to the more northern boreal landscapes found in Alaska. C3, C4, and C5 are more commonly dominated by pine species found in the lake states. C6 is a special fuel type for plantations. And C7, with western species like ponderosa pine and Douglas fir, isn't common to Alaska or the lake states. From this graph, you'll notice that C2 spruce and C4 pine fuel types are very similar, and they produce the fastest spread rates regardless of ISI. C1 spruce, C3 pine, and C6 plantation are somewhat intermediate, especially with ISIs above 10. And C5 pine, C7 western forests produce the slowest overall spread rates for the FBP system. Among the conifer types, only C6 for plantations requires additional information. The user needs to provide a canopy base height as a modifier to produce an FBP estimate with C6. In this picture of a red pine plantation, the canopy base height may be as high as 20 feet. Deciduous cover types are represented by 2 FBP fuel types, D1 for leafless aspen and D2 for aspen after leaf out. Notice that in this picture there is little if any conifer. The deciduous fuel types can represent other hardwoods as well, like birch and maple, though if you use it in oak leaf litter, you may find it to produce a serious underprediction of fire behavior. Essentially, D2, green or summer hardwoods, produces spread rates that are about 20% of the D1 leafless hardwood estimates. In the boreal forests of Alaska and the Great Lakes transition forests of the northern lake states, hardwoods and conifers commonly grow in mixtures. The FBP system identifies them as boreal mixedwood, with M1 and M3 incorporating leafless hardwoods, while M2 and M4 include green or summer hardwood conditions. Like the plantation fuel type C6, the mixedwood fuel types require additional information. M1 and M2 require the user to estimate what portion of the forest canopy is conifer, while M3 and M4 call for estimating the portion of the canopy represented by dead conifers. In this graph, the black lines represent the leafless or M1 fuel types, and the gray lines represent the summer or M2 fuel types. The solid lines have 75% conifer, the long dashes represent 50% conifer, and the short dashes show them with 25% conifer. Notice the difference between spring and summer spread rates, that they increase as the percent conifer in the canopy declines. Open fuel types generally represent grasses, though they can be used for grass-shrub mixtures like tundra in Alaska. The open land fuels also require an additional modifier as an input to characterize how much of the grass is cured. In early spring, before green up, these fuels are generally considered to be 100% cured. In later spring and during green up, the curing percentage transitions from 90% down to less than 50%. When these grass fuels begin to carry fire again in the summer, that may be a signal that curing may have increased to 60 or perhaps 70% again. And under severe drought, fire spread may be best represented when the curing is set closer to 80 or 90%. O1B, standing grass uncompacted by winter snows, generally produce faster spread rates than O1A matted grass for a given curing percent. Fully cured grasses found in the early spring, 100% cured, show much faster spread than the same grass fuels during the growing season when curing is commonly less than 50%. There are 3 FBP fuel types, again dividing between the 3 geographic areas. S1 or pine for the lake states, spruce fir or S2 for the northern boreal landscapes, and S3 or cedar hemlock Doug fir only found on the Alaska Panhandle. Clearly the pine fuel type exhibits the fastest spread rates, the S2 or spruce fir the slowest, and S3 more intermediate, especially at ISIs above 8. Remember to note your fuel type choices on your worksheet. Depending on your location, identify the fuel types adjacent to the fire. Include any modifiers needed for the fuel type you select. Remember that C6 for plantations, the 4 mixed wood fuel types, and the open land fuel types need modifiers. And identify whether the cover type is open without forest canopy or closed under forest cover. With that, you have completed the fuel type selection process for your fire behavior assessment. The FBP fuel types identify northern cover types that that fires burn in. The FBP fuel types include canopy factors that provide for crown fire predictions. And with only 18 fuel types from 5 vegetation classes, the choice should prove easy. Now consider viewing the other FBP fuel topics as well.